On the 23rd of November 1991, John Deacon was at Garden Lodge. The following day, the 24th of November, Freddie Mercury died. John Deacon was 40 years old. He had known Freddie Mercury for 20 years. He had been in the same band as Freddie Mercury for 20 years. The youngest of the four, the quietest, the one who occupied the background while the others occupied the foreground. He had written the songs that Freddie Mercury's voice had made extraordinary. He had played the bass lines beneath everything Freddie Mercury had ever recorded. And on the 23rd of November, 1991, the day before the end, John Deacon was in the room. What happened in that room, what was said, what was asked, what was given, and what was received in the specific private conditions of someone who is dying and someone who loves them and who has come to be present is not part of the public record. Peter Freestone, who was there in those final days, has described the quality of that period without giving its private content. Jim Hutton, who was also present, has described what he witnessed without giving the full account of what passed between Freddie Mercury and the people he loved. And John Deacon has said nothing at all about that day, about what was asked, about what was promised. He has not said anything about this or about anything else since 1997. What he has done for 33 years is everything that a person does who has made a promise and who intends to keep it. This video is not the breaking of that promise. It is the story of what it looks like when a person keeps one. Garden Lodge in the final weeks of November 1991 had become the place where Freddie Mercury was going to die, the domestic context in which the people who loved him most were gathered and in which the ordinary activities of a life continued alongside the knowledge that they were ending. Peter Freestone has described this period. Jim Hutton has described it. The accounts together build a picture not of the dramatic vigil that public grief imagined, but something more ordinary and more complete, the specific quality of people who love each other, being present with each other in the last available time, doing the ordinary things, carrying beneath all of it the specific weight of knowing what was coming. John Deacon was part of this. He was there. He was in those rooms, in the specific way of someone who had known Freddie Mercury for 20 years and who was present for what the 20 years had arrived at. The relationship between John Deacon and Freddie Mercury across 20 years of Queen is one of the least documented in the band's history, for the simple reason that John Deacon documents nothing. He did not give interviews about the relationship. He did not describe what Freddie Mercury meant to him. What the available record gives us is indirect evidence, the 20 years of music, the specific creative relationship that produced some of the most significant songs in Queen's catalog. The fact that John Deacon's last creative work before his permanent withdrawal was the completion of the album Freddie Mercury had left behind. We know from the songs John Deacon wrote, and that Freddie Mercury sang that something was being communicated between them at the level of the music that went beyond what either of them said publicly about it. The room on the 23rd of November was the room where that 20-year relationship reached its last private moment. The 20-year relationship reached its last private moment on the 23rd of November, 1991. 20 years of music, 20 years of the specific creative conversation that produced another one. Bites the Dust and I Want to Break Free and You're My Best Friend, and the bass lines beneath Bohemian Rhapsody. 20 years of the youngest member of the band being present in the background of every significant thing the band had done. And on the 23rd of November, John Deacon was in the room with the person who had been at the center of all of it on the day before the center was gone. What was said in that room is private. What was asked is private. What was promised is private. The 20 years deserved a private ending. And the private ending happened in a room at Garden Lodge on the 23rd of November, 1991. A promise made in the specific context of someone's final hours carries a particular weight different from other kinds of promises. It is the weight of what a person chooses to ask for when they understand that asking is almost over the specific form of what someone needs most when what they most need is behind them. Freddie Mercury, by the accounts of the people present in those final weeks, was clear-minded and specific about the things he wanted and needed actively himself, with the quality of someone who understood what was happening and was organizing it according to his own values. A request made by someone in that state would be a request that carried everything they understood about what they needed and who they were asking. If Freddie Mercury asked John Deacon for something, he asked because he knew what he was asking, and he knew who he was asking. The promise that responded to it was specific, and John Deacon has kept it with the specific totality of someone who understood completely what they were agreeing to. We do not know what was asked. What we have is the pattern of John Deacon's behavior across 33 years. He attended the Freddie Mercury tribute concert in April 1992. He was present. He played. He contributed to Made in Heaven from 1991 to 1995. And then in 1997, he withdrew. He said, "Queen was Freddie. There is no Queen." He has not given interviews. He has not made public appearances. He has not commented on the Bohemian Rhapsody film, on the subsequent touring with Adam Lambert, on any public development related to the band or to Freddie Mercury's legacy. The pattern is not random silence. It is the specific pattern of someone who has made a decision about what they will and will not do with the public life of the thing they were part of, and who has held that decision without exception for 33 years. Whether this reflects a promise made on the 23rd of November 1991 is something only John Deacon knows. The pattern has been consistent with a promise for 33 years. Brian May has spoken hundreds of interviews across 3 decades. He has described the band's history, Freddie Mercury's final period, the making of Made in Heaven, what was lost and what has been carried. He has spoken about John Deacon's silence, about the calls John does not answer, about his own inability to understand the full meaning of John's withdrawal. Roger Taylor has toured and performed and engaged with the public life of Queen's legacy, and John Deacon has said nothing. Not nothing from inability, nothing from decision. The 3 people present for the same 20 years have made 3 different choices about what the public life of that band looks like from here. John Deacon's choice is the most complete and the most consistent. A decision maintained with this completeness across this much time against this much public pressure is not simply a preference. It is a commitment. And commitments of this duration usually have a reason. A commitment of this duration and this completeness usually has a reason. 33 years, not one interview, not one public appearance, not one comment about anything related to Queen or to Freddie Mercury's public legacy. Brian May calls. John does not answer. The tours happen. John is not there. The films are made. John does not comment. The specific completeness of the not participating the way it has no exceptions, no moments when the commitment has wavered or produced a slip, is the quality of something that is being held rather than simply lived. A person holds something when it matters enough to hold. John Deacon has held this for 33 years. Whatever was asked on the 23rd of November 1991, he is still answering it. John Deacon's keeping of whatever was asked of him is not a passive silence. It is an active silence, the specific activity of someone who continues day after day and year after year to choose not to do the things that would break it. Every interview request declined is a small, quiet renewal of the commitment. Every public occasion not attended is a small, quiet renewal. Every comment not made about the Bohemian Rhapsody film or the subsequent touring or any of the public life of the music he spent 25 years making is a small, quiet renewal. The promise, if there was a promise, is not kept once. It is kept every day, and the keeping across 33 years is itself one of the most extraordinary acts of fidelity in the story of Queen. We cannot know what Freddie Mercury asked John Deacon on the 23rd of November 1991. Freddie Mercury understood, with the clarity his final months had given him, what was going to happen to his name and his music and his legacy after his death. He had managed his own public image with extraordinary deliberateness across his entire career, deciding what to show, deciding what to keep. He would not have approached the end without thinking about what the end meant for the things that had been most private. And the most private things, the specific quality of the relationships inside the band, the specific nature of what he had been to the 4 people who had made the music with him, were most at risk in the public aftermath. If Freddie Mercury asked John Deacon for something, the asking was probably about privacy, about keeping something private that deserved to stay private, about the specific relationship between the 2 of them, remaining what it had been, without the world's intervention in what it meant. The Freddie Mercury tribute concert took place at Wembley Stadium on the 20th of April, 1992. John Deacon was there. He played, with Brian May and Roger Taylor, for the audience that had come to remember Freddie Mercury. The footage of John Deacon at the tribute concert is among the most closely watched from that event, the footage of someone clearly carrying something very large and performing in spite of it rather than through it. His eyes in some footage are closed or directed inward, the specific quality of someone doing a necessary thing with total commitment and total private cost. He played. He did what the occasion required. And then the gradual withdrawal began, culminating in 1997 with his final public statement and his permanent silence. The tribute concert was the last time John Deacon was publicly present in anything resembling the full public life of Queen. The withdrawal has continued without interruption for 33 years. The withdrawal has continued without interruption for 33 years. From the tribute concert in April 1992 to the present day, every year a year of the same silence, the same not appearing, the same not commenting. Brian May has described it as something he does not fully understand. Roger Taylor has described it with a combination of respect and sadness. The world that loved Queen and that has continued to want more of it has described it with frustration and with curiosity and with the specific form of wondering that attaches to silence when the silent person was present for something extraordinary. And John Deacon has continued to be silent, not because he has forgotten, not because the silence has become easy, but because the silence is the promise. And the promise was made on the 23rd of November, 1991, in a room at Garden Lodge, the day before the end. There is something specific that John Deacon knows about Freddie Mercury that nobody else knows. Not Brian May, who has spoken more than any of the others. Not Roger Taylor. Not Peter Freestone or Jim Hutton or Mary Austin, who have all, in different ways, shared what they know of the private man. John Deacon knows something that none of them know, because something passed between him and Freddie Mercury on the 23rd of November, 1991, that has not passed from John Deacon to anyone else in 33 years. It may be something small. It may be something that would change the shape of what people understand about him. We do not know. John Deacon knows. And John Deacon says nothing. John Deacon's keeping of the promise is the last creative act of his relationship with Freddie Mercury. The music was the creative relationship, the songs, the bass lines, the 20-year musical conversation. That conversation ended when Freddie Mercury died, its last expression the completion of Made in Heaven in 1995. But the keeping of the promise is a different kind of creative act, the act of sustaining a form of the relationship across time, in the way that only a person who was asked and who agreed can sustain it. Brian May can speak about Freddie Mercury. Roger Taylor can perform in his memory. The world can stream his recordings and watch his concert footage. But only John Deacon can keep the specific thing that was asked of him, and he has kept it for 33 years, without once letting it go, without once letting it go. 33 years. Whatever was asked on the 23rd of November, 1991, in a room at Garden Lodge, one day before the end, John Deacon has answered it every day since with the same answer. Yes. Still, yes. Every interview he has declined. Every appearance he has missed. Every comment he has not made. Every call from Brian May he has not answered. All of it. Yes. Still yes. The world does not know what the question was. The world has 33 years of the answer. The answer is John Deacon's silence. The answer is John Deacon's 33 years of choosing every day to keep the thing that was asked to be kept. We do not need to know what the question was. We can see the answer. We have been seeing it for 33 years. On the 23rd of November, 1991, John Deacon was in a room at Garden Lodge with Freddie Mercury. The following day, Freddie Mercury died. What passed between them in that room, what was asked and what was answered, is not part of the public record and will not become part of it while John Deacon is alive and holding what he is holding. John Deacon has held it for 33 years. He held it through the tribute concert and through the completion of Made in Heaven and through his final public statement in 1997 and through every subsequent year of a world that has continued to ask, in various forms, for more of what John Deacon was part of, and what John Deacon alone knows the final private shape of. He has held it with the specific completeness of someone who understood what they were agreeing to when they agreed. The promise was made in a room. The room is gone, the specific configuration of the people in it, and the specific quality of what was possible in it, on the 23rd of November, 1991, is gone with Freddie Mercury. But the promise continues. John Deacon continues. And the keeping continues, as it has continued every day for 33 years. Silently, completely, without apology, and without the world's understanding of what is being kept. Freddie Mercury asked. John Deacon said yes. And for 33 years, every day, John Deacon has been saying it still.